Good afternoon. Today is the 29th day of January 2015, and we are once again with Alok in our series on Savitri. Welcome, Alok. We begin again the issue.
Yes. I think it's a wonderful canto which not only sets the note to what is going to come, right note, it also introduces to us the whole mission and purpose of Savitri. It's not just an individual story, but the story of humanity, of the race, struggling against death, against suffering, against various kinds of ills that besiege us. And we love to do patchworks. So we try to, control this, something else comes up. We control that, something else comes up. So what really is the problem? That's how the issue is about. What really is the issue about us? And if we know the issue, then we can find the solution. I think that's the central theme of Savitri. And we have a way of understanding human problem and the human issues, and based on our understanding we try to change systems, governments, machinery, law, and we try to solve the human problem. But the solution emerges only when we understand things rightly, and that's where I see that Sri Aurobindo in this small canto, he brings to the foreground with utter clarity what is the real problem. And there are lines, even one-liners, which open up many doors. See this line, for instance. We'll go back and forth, but on page 18, how beautifully it describes the human paradox. It's a paradox. Paradox is because all that we aspire for, all that we hope and wish in our individual life and our collective life, very often our own actions are contrary to that. This is the biggest paradox. So we all want peace and we quarrel, we all want bliss and we are lost in the mazes of pleasure and pain. We all want harmony and we do everything that will disrupt harmony. So this is the paradox, and why it is there. Look at these 4 lines, page 18. In this enigma of the dusk of God. As we know, dusk is a meeting point of the day and the light and the night.
Yes.
This slow and strange, uneasy compromise. So, we use the word compromise, that, we have to compromise on so many things. But the real compromise is not outside. The real compromise is between our soul's aspiration and nature. Nature doesn't follow easily. And one option is that we leave nature and go into the supreme or nirvana or that ultimate reality or transcendent, whatever we may say. But that's half a solution. Really speaking, not a solution of the human problem. It's an individual door. But how to carry nature, this is the real challenge. And this is the challenge which Sri Aurobindo brings to the forefront when he says, this slow and strange, uneasy compromise of limiting nature with a limitless soul. There are no limits to the possibility of the soul. It dreams of universal brotherhood. It dreams of equality. It dreams of freedom. It dreams of an ideal love. It dreams of unmixed bliss. It dreams of pure truth. It dreams for a perfect state of things.
Now, Sri Aurobindo capitalizes the N in nature.
Yes.
And Mother says nature is collaborating with her now.
Yes, that's 1958.
That's 58. But we have yet to see
Yes.
a large demonstration of it.
No, that part is very interesting.
Yeah.
That part, the mother explained this message of 1958 in a wonderful way. She said what it means is that it is beginning to accept the new substance. So 56, when the supermind descended, before that nature was not even entertaining the possibility. It was saying, I want to go my way. I agree, there is a far off dream.
Yeah.
And that was reflected in the group life here. See, despite Mother and Sri Aurobindo's very physical presence, the disciples were so skeptic. Look at the question. So, what was it? Nature, not ready. No, sir, you are doing something, saying something which even the Vedic rishis did not say. Sir, are you pulling the tail of the supermind? Have you reached anywhere? Is it going to come down? Are we going to witness it? What is it? 101 questions.
Yes. Yes.
Because nature was not collaborating. Then Sri Aurobindo absorbs all that poison into his being. As the mother said, he literally, lost his eye in the process of writing letters to the disciples. Something so strange. So, you see, as the mother said, he lost his eye in the process of writing and clearing everybody's doubts. But the doubts were there because nature was not ready, nature was not collaborating. And eventually he absorbed all this resistance into himself to make the passage clear, smoother. And 56, the descent takes place. 58, the mother says that nature has begun to collaborate, consented.
Right.
And then she says what it means is that she has accepted the new substance, the supramental substance, and therefore every child who is going to come will carry a little bit of this, like a new chip, inbuilt, ingrained. And so now you see, now people are not only accepting, sometimes they go overboard that it's happening now, it's going to happen now. But it's better than, the other proposition where, there was resistance. Now, why are they accepting? What has changed? Has anyone seen the supramental? No. But nature has accepted. And children are going to come. They will spontaneously believe in a new age, a new society, a new world. And they will work towards it. Doesn't matter whether this work is ignorantly done or whichever way it is done. Because obviously it's an evolutionary passage, evolutionary struggle. Nobody knows exactly how it will take place, but it will take place. That conviction is born in human heart. And I think that's a big sign. So on one side, there is the limitless soul with its highest possibilities, but on the other side, nature, which is limited. Let's take another example. And it's very, very often people say, okay, I'll pray and I'll get well. Simple example. And many pray and get well, many don't get well. So people wonder why this happens. And Sri Aurobindo beautifully points out, look, the soul may be very open, the mind may also be open, the heart may be open, but the body may not be responsive and receptive.
Yes.
Now, this is a challenge. We see great sadhaks like Pavitrada suffering from leukemia, and people don't understand. Well, the human body is still having too much of ignorance in it. And till this changes, still nature can also keep at least some pace with the soul. The change cannot, be really noticeable. I'm reminded of an Indian image, sometime back in the past, 40 years, 50 years back. I don't know how it was in Russia or America, but in India it used to be that when the husband and wife were moving along a road, along the dusty roads of a village, so the husband will be a few steps away and the wife will be a few steps behind. And she would be carrying a little baby and the husband is, walking like a boss and lord, and poor lady is following. Now this is the soul and nature. Not that the husband by any way, any which way deserved to be the soul. But in any case, a part of her being is moving forward and the rest is somehow lingering. In fact, many times she didn't know where he is going, what for he is going. Her job was just to listen and follow. Just go behind.
Yeah.
And so she couldn't because she didn't understand. Now times have changed and people keep pace. And many times the wife leads. Now, you see, for a long time, the soul has, this experience of the soul turning to the divine and dreaming of beautiful things has always been known. But nature has not been able to keep pace. So look how Sri Aurobindo states this problem in just 4 lines. In this enigma of the dusk of God, times of transition, this slow and strange, uneasy compromise, this is the cause of our unease, which manifests as various disease and symptoms, pathologies, individual, physical, psychological, social pathologies. This is the unease. Nature and soul are at tandem with each other. Of limiting nature with a limitless soul, where all must move between an ordered chance and an uncaring, blind necessity. These are the 2 powers that are playing the game. Ordered chance, where it looks as if it is chance, but you can see there is a hand leading things. Ordered chance.
Yes.
On the other's, blind, uncaring necessity. It breaks a body at will.
Yeah.
It's not bothered. Oh, he was such a wonderful person. Doesn't matter. He was an ethical being. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He was an aspirant to yoga. Doesn't matter. It slays at will. Although death walks beside our life, Sri Aurobindo says that. A dim bystander at the body's start.
Yeah.
But it slowly picks up pace, and its time comes when you just wonder, is really something like a divine will behind all this? And the mother says that in the physical events of our life as they are today, outer life, there is no free play of the divine will. It's a blind, uncaring necessity. You have to create a balance. Done. Even she talks about death, that they have a wonderful organization and a certain number of beings have to be taken away, because that's how the balance of creation is. And they go and knock at doors and see whoever is ready and you're up.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, let's see whether, this person, if he goes away, what will happen to the family, what will happen to the children.
Yeah.
Even yesterday we had this, Jammu and Kashmir, see the paradox of blind, uncaring necessity.
Yeah.
This colonel who has been shot by the terrorists. Look at the paradox of life. That 2 days back on the Republic Day, he has been awarded the Yuddha Seva Medal, being a valiant warrior.
Yeah.
And what was his method of, dealing with the terrorists? He would not just kill, he would try to change their heart. And if he had to be confronted, he led from the front, and of course, combat and killing takes place in army. And this time, when again he led from the front and 2 terrorists said that they are surrendering. So he said, all right, welcome.
Yeah.
But this was a ploy, and as he came out, they shot him. Yeah. Now, if you look at it, it's very strange. I mean, a man noble by all accounts.
Yeah.
He deserved to live. Children are crying, parents are crying. Whereas there are others who are anointing the terrorist, and they are alive.
Yes.
In their late 80s and 90s. So look at this paradox. Blind, uncaring necessity.
And there's the line, for nature walks upon her mighty way,
Yes.
uncaring,
Yes.
when she slays a soul, a life.
Yes. So that's the issue. And an uncaring, blind necessity. But why that happens? You see, Sri Aurobindo gives us in a key the whole problem. Too high the fire spiritual dare not blaze. This is the other problem. We all, when we, I'm sure you must have known, and all of us are aware of this, when our first turn takes place to yoga, we are so enthusiastic, and it appears that just few years down the line and all the wonderful experiences are going to be there. And they do come. But the change, the crux is the nature. It doesn't change so easily. So after a while you get involved with the change of nature. Now, it's possible that these experiences one can grow, develop, and eventually leave everything and go away. But that is not the solution. So nature binds us, draws us back, in a way reminds us, look, please don't neglect me. Please don't ignore me. We have to carry her together. This is the most ancient of weddings, soul and nature.
Yes.
And you can't run away.
But the fire spiritual,
Yes.
he says.
Because if it blazes too much, nature will just,
Body's gone.
yes, body is gone. And even, body is gone if one goes into a kind of, state of samadhi. And it can, whole nature can be turned topsy-turvy. Sri Aurobindo says that, yogis can enter into states not only of cataleptic trance, but also in mad, unmat state, or like a child, or they can become like a ghaul. He uses this word. Or jadvat, like a stone. Jadvat, unmatvat, pishachvat, like a ghaul. Balvat, like a child. There are yogis who would kick, throw stones, because nature is not able to, really receive that boundless freedom of the spirit. And that's why many times the mother says it's not good to convert anyone.
Yes.
Because if nature is not ready, people will just suffer, nothing else.
And we see this all over the
All
world.
over the world.
With the conservative
Yeah.
religions.
Absolutely. They will get something and understand nothing of it. And they will turn it into a kind of a dogma which will end up being disastrous. Look at right now, we have the ISIS.
Yes.
In the name of equality, in the name of service to God,
Yeah.
in the name of brotherhood,
We had the Crusades.
crusades. Everywhere we
Everywhere.
see, sects fighting, warring with each other. And for what? And all in the name of God. So unless the mind, the heart, the nature in general is ready for that great ascension, we cannot take up this. So this is the big problem which Sri Aurobindo states. If once it met the intense original flame, an answering touch might shatter all measures made, and earth sink down with the weight of the infinite.
Extraordinary lines.
And Sri Aurobindo reminds us why in India there was the institution of sannyasis. So everybody revered the sannyasi, but he had to be outside the pall of society. Why? Because he had a dangerous freedom. He had no moral, social, ethical standards because he had broken free. But then the danger was that society is not ready for that. For the society there was dharma. Be a sattvic person. Now if in the society, if somebody just tried to imitate a sannyasi's behavior without having the same consciousness, it would be a chaos and disaster.
Yes.
Later on also we have in the vision in the boon that my fire and sweetness are the cause of things, but too immense my danger and my charm. Awake, not the immeasurable descent, earth might sink down under the weight of the infinite. So this is the danger. If the earth is imperfect, it will break down. And it has happened. There are so many instances on the way. So this is the big challenge. When mother had gone, in fact, beyond the supramental descent. Very often people talk of the supramental descent. But the real goal is Ananda. Sri Aurobindo says that in one of his letters to Dilip Kumar Roy, that to bring down the divine love and Ananda is the real goal. So what is the reason for the supramental descent? Well, first high truth must set its base upon earth.
Yes.
So without truth, if Ananda and love descend, they will shatter everything. So the mother had gone further. 56 we know. But in 67 she talks about Ananda. And she says she has come. She is waiting to descend. But is man ready?
Yeah.
And so we have series of messages after that. Mother says, are you ready?
Yeah.
Even for truth we are not ready. Leave aside Ananda.
The world is preparing for a
Big change. And she came and she waited and waited and waited.
Yeah.
And the mother says she had come once Even when Sri Aurobindo was here, she wanted to manifest. But human beings were not ready. So this is the big challenge.
Yes.
If once it met the intense original flame, an answering touch might shatter all measures made, and earth sink down with the weight of the infinite. So we think God is slow, but He knows His work well. Sometimes we, cry with a burning aspiration, why don't you manifest? Why don't you come? And this is a glimpse. And that glimpse is enough to throw us topsy-turvy. Even the joy of a darshan day we are not able to contain. We jump around, we keep on talking and spilling over everything. So what to speak of that touch? And that's why long, dim preparation is man's life.
But if not for the mother's coming, nothing would have.
She identified,
Millenniums.
she is the supernature, the higher nature, the divine source of all things. That knowledge, that power, that bliss, identified with this ignorance, this mixed stuff, so that she could redeem it. Otherwise, it was not possible.
Yes.
And she took it all upon herself and uplifted it. And then see how beautifully he describes the problems of living here. The problems are not just water, electricity, house, and food. Well, they are very basic things. And if they are there, wonderful. But the real problem is something else. A jail is this immense material world. It doesn't allow you. These eyes don't allow us to see the divine, the only reality. These ears don't allow us to hear the divine voice, the rhythm of the worlds. We hear all kinds of things except that. So a jail is this immense material world, and we are very happy, and we love to make this jail more and more strong. So that's the beauty of this jail, that it's not just a jail. As Mother says, that it's bad enough to have ignorance. What is worse is that we are happy with this ignorance. So there is a double jail. It makes us feel comfortable and puts us in a state of inertia and doesn't let us go forward.
So the old cliche, ignorance is bliss.
Absolutely, because it means no effort.
Yes.
And we all like to be in our comfort zones. That's why pain comes. Pain is the hammer of the gods to break. It actually comes to break the bar of the jails so that we can be freed. But we go further, crouching backwards. A jail is this immense material world. Across each road stands armed a stone-eyed law. You want to go anywhere, you want to grow in consciousness, no, not allowed. 100 questions, doubts, fears, attachments, desires, everything will come suddenly as if from all sides. It doesn't allow. At every gate, the huge, dim sentinel space, the sentinels, Sri Aurobindo speaks of them, doubt, despair, denial. These are the sentinels. They don't allow us to go. So they wait and they don't allow us to move forward. A great tribunal of the ignorance, an inquisition of the priests of night. So we were talking about it. An inquisition of the priests of night, who believe that they are priests of light. Nevertheless, in judgment sit on the adventurer's soul.
Yes.
They forget grace. So they don't let you pass. Tell me the list of good deeds. Good deeds? Okay, we'll give you heaven. And the soul is lured. Bad deeds will send you to hell. But in fact, there is no heaven and hell. Once Swami Vivekananda was caught by a priest in in US, and he said, you know what, you are a non-believer, so you will go to hell. He said, okay, fine, what next? So he was not prepared for this answer. So 3-4 times he tried to, tell him that, look, you will go to hell. He said, I am fine with that. What is the problem now? He had crossed those borders. And he said, now when I see him, I try to avoid him. Because once again, he'll be after me, trying to convert me. That if I don't get converted, I'm going to find a place in hell. So, the lure of heaven, the fear of hell.
Yes.
That also he will tell us. In judgment, sit on the adventurer's soul, and man keeps on moving in that circle. If only I can win a place in heaven for myself.
Yeah.
And the dual tables and the karmic norm,
Yes.
the good and the bad. And we keep seesawing like a seesaw. Good, you are given rewards. Bad, punishments. And human nature keeps on moving between this eternal duality.
And the karmic norm.
Norm. Well, this is the reward, this is the punishment.
Yeah.
There is a judgment, and that's it.
Mhm.
Whereas the divine reality is beyond these. It's not only beyond bad, it's also beyond good. It is not only beyond wrong, it is also beyond right. It is not only beyond all that we consider as evil and ugly, but also beyond all that we consider as righteous and virtuous. And the mother says in the divine reality, the two join and change. So, imagine, it doesn't allow us. And so what do they do? What is the purpose? Why nature has created this? Restrain the titan in us and the God. So there is a narrow zone, a bandwidth frequency in which the human consciousness moves. It's not allowed to go further. Bad, you may break this fence and enter into the titanic side. Good, break the fence and you may enter into the other side. So this human frequency is given to man, that you have to move in this zone. Like, aircrafts, they look like they are in the sky and they are free, but they are not free. The air traffic controls them, that you have to go only in this corridor. You can't change the corridor. And if they change the corridor, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So we also believe we are free, but we are given a corridor where on one side the wall is good and the other side bad. And between it is fine. A little bit of good and a little bit of bad will suffice. But if you break this magic circle, who knows? So restrain in us the titan and the God. Pain with its lash, joy with its silver bribe, guard the wheels, circling immobility. So everything changes is a law, nothing changes is a fact. Because they forever end up repeating the same endless cycle.
And this wheel, in years ago, there was a song, Ezekiel saw the wheel in a wheel, the great wheel run by the grace of God, and the little wheel by man. So they saw this.
Wonderful. Yes, of
Yes,
course.
Yes.
The Jagatyam Jagat of the Ishupanishad. The motion within motion.
Yes.
And the original wheel is, of course, the wheel of God.
Yes. Yes.
But there are so many other individual wheels. And they are not aligned to this real rhythm. So when they are not aligned, they create friction and grate, as it's mentioned in the agenda several times. But when they are aligned, it's perfect, it's harmonious. But that's the big problem.
Have you seen anything in the term silver bribe? It's very interesting.
Very interesting. There's a whole story about it.
Yes.
The 20 coins or
Yeah,
something.
pieces of silver, yes.
Judas, story of Judas, where
Yes.
20 coins he sold.
Joy with its silver
Silver
bride.
bride.
Huh?
You sell your birthright.
Yes.
You give up the divine presence
Yeah.
and you barter it for what?
Yeah.
So they don't allow. The wheel keeps you moving within it. Within this circle you can move, but you cannot break free.
And guard the wheel
Circling immobility. It looks like it is moving, but you get back to the same point. You come back to the same point. So this is a repetitive movement, habit, and it binds us. A bond is put on the high climbing mind, a seal on the too large, wide open heart. Death stays the journeying discoverer, life. And even if these two don't take place, ultimately death will come, knock the gates. The physical body runs out after a period of time. And we know how Mother herself, even physically, was pacing with death. She says that, we must find a way to prolong life. This is one of the first things that mankind will discover before we can talk about physical immortality. Death doesn't
It's
allow
prolongation of life.
Yes, because it has programmed the cells. The cells are programmed genetically. So every species has a certain lifespan. For instance, human beings have an average lifespan of 85 years. Now you see, there was an age when people were dying prematurely because of diseases.
Yes.
As an infant and as an adult.
35 was an
35,
old age.
Yes, 35 was an old age. So people by various scientific means have brought it up to this. But now there is a barrier. Because nature had programmed till then. He said, okay, I'll allow you. You see the wheels circling immobility. You reach that point, you again hit back the same point that there is the wall of death. At some point, people believe that, one day we will find all the ways and means. We would have got rid of all diseases and found the secret of death, and we will not die. Nobody knows why invariably with each change the body begins to deteriorate little by little, little by little. And the mother at one place says, this is what I find this kind of a physical suffering most intolerable. That is an invariable deterioration of the body. Why? Because genetically programmed. There are many issues in it, of course, errors which are inbuilt in the whole mechanism. So death is a perfect organization.
But to live all these years without change, what does Sri Aurobindo say? No new edition of the old fiasco.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why we have to put our best to open this body to the grace which is come upon earth. Whatever happens, because this is how one day the transition will take place. What is known as the tipping point or the critical number. Many will attempt and arrive approximately and seemingly fail. But he says many approximations justify the effort. One day, because of all this effort, one particular day, maybe the 100th or the 1000th or the 10,000th human chimp will cross that line.
Yeah.
And that will be marvelous.
As the fish avatar became an amphibian.
Yes. It will cross that line.
Yes.
Now, when that will happen, we do not know, but we believe it will happen. And we have to move along those lines. So, this is the problem. Thus is the throne of the inconscient safe. It allows you to get into exit, that's possible. Look, the whole problem of earth and human beings upon earth, why there cannot be terrestrial perfection unless we grapple with this real issue. Human beings cannot change except individually the soul can grow spiritually. But collectively as a race we cannot change, all the dreams will remain dreams, still nature collaborates and follows the pace. And these are the issues and problems. Thus is the throne of the inconscient safe, while the tardy coilings of the aeons pass, and the animal browses in the sacred fence. This is the sacred fence,
Yes.
where the fire burns at the altar.
And the animal nature is browsing in
Yes.
it.
Meant for the birth of the gods.
Yes.
There is a story in the three Upanishad that when different forms were being created, and divine asked the gods to, accept, they kept rejecting. But when the human form came, they said, yes, this is it. We'll go and inhabit it. But we don't see gods. We see only the animal. The animal browses in the fence. Of course, the godlike impulses are there and there are momentary upliftings. And the gold hawk can cross the skies no more, the skies of the mind,
Yeah.
where they can directly perceive that intuition which comes from the heights. But instead, we are pulled back, down again and again, back to the inconscient. Civilizations have developed, and very developed civilizations. We know about Troy, we know about Atlantis, we know about the Mayan civilizations, the Lankan civilization, and so many.
Yes.
Chaldean and
Yes.
Vedic, but they collapse back
Yeah.
because beyond a point they don't allow.
Nolini told me that the gold hawk represented the liberated soul.
Yes, but since the color gold is there, it's also the supramental rays, because hawk is a creature. Birds in general represent the soul.
The soul. Yes.
But the hawk is a very interesting creature because it can see almost globally in a certain arc of vision, unlike any other bird. So this kind of a arc-like seeing, where you see the heaven and the earth and what is in front simultaneously, that is the power of intuition. So it's a soul liberated in the intuitive planes, where the soul can directly perceive. But that doesn't happen. Man's mind was meant for that essential. So that's the gold hawk. And then he, of course, brings us back to Savitri.
Yes.
But one stood up and lit the limitless flame.
Limitless. Limitless
This is
flame.
the yagna of Savitri.
Yes.
And where does she light? That is also interesting. See, it is really an epic. She doesn't light the flame in the palace of some king, nor in some ashrama, nor in some, Brahmin's hut. She lights the flame where there is utter darkness. That is the ground the Divine Mother chooses to light the flame. Look at these lines. Arraigned by the dark power that hates all bliss, in the dire court where life must pay for joy. Every joy you get in life is at a cost. Sentenced by the mechanic justicer to the afflicting penalty of man's hopes, her head she bowed not to the stark decree. Bearing her helpless heart to destiny's stroke,
Yes.
so bows and must the mind-born will in man. So this is the difference. We have that on the previous page. Again, this difference on page 17.
Yes.
Why, the divine has to go through this. And in a certain sense, all who come with a aspiration and will to change the scheme of things here, they must go through struggles and difficulties and challenges. It's not a bed of roses. At one place, Sri Aurobindo tells the sadhaks, "Oh, what rose-petaled sadhaks you are,"
Yes.
looking for more and more comfort.
Yeah.
And the mother says, if you cannot put up with little bit discomfort, and what to speak of the inner battles, which are much more. So look on page 17. There is a darkness in terrestrial things that will not suffer long, too glad in note. There are days when you are aspiring with everything wonderful, and in the evening the ankle twists. And you wonder what happened today?
Yeah.
Nothing happened. You aspired and nature gave way.
Yeah.
Not ready. Mother has spoken of it.
Or you have a wonderful experience
Yes.
in the day, and in the night something comes to wipe it out.
And wipes it away. On her to close the inescapable hand. The armed immortal bore the snare of time. One dealt with her who meets the burdened great. So those who come with a mission and an aspiration, they must be ready. It's one thing to say that we want to serve the divine, but when the actual challenge comes, the preparation comes, most shirk and shy away because it's not an easy thing, just the preparation itself. A signer of the ordeal and the path, who chooses in this holocaust of the soul, death, fall, and sorrow, as the spirits, goats. The dubious Godhead with his torch of pain lit up the chasm of the unfinished world and called her to fill with her vast self the abyss. So it's an endless labor. You think that you have crossed a certain line and it shows up again. No, sir, there is still more. You feel that this much has been cleared. It says, no, wait. Still more, and still more, and still more, and still more. For the inconscient too is infinite. The more you sound, it becomes deeper and deeper still. So this is the challenge. And she has taken the burden so beautifully. For this she had accepted mortal breath. See, it's so interesting that Sri Aurobindo doesn't use the word mortal birth. Uses the word mortal breath.
Yes.
To wrestle with the shadow she had come and must confront the riddle of man's birth and life's brief struggle in dumb matter's night. And these last four lines indicate whether to bear with ignorance and death or hew the ways of immortality. Both things are possible. See, till the end, Mother would say, both are possible. Yeah. I may enter into a cataleptic trance, wake up with the change. Or it may go this way. I have abandoned myself to the Lord as He wills. Till the very end, you are walking on that edge. And to win or lose the godlike game for man was her soul's issue thrown with destiny's dice. Now look at these, these lines are so full of what we call in India as the veer ras, the courage. That what is the game of games we are here to play? To challenge ignorance, to challenge the limits of nature, to go beyond time and space, to breathe infinity, and all that holds us down, to fight with it, to struggle, and eventually change it or throw it out of the system. This is the real courage. And the Mother says the biggest courage is to tell your ego, your hour is gone. That's the most biggest challenge for us. The challenge, I think, of the 22nd century. We don't put it this century. But that's the challenge. Because without that, there can be no world peace, no harmony, no love in the true sense. And then there's a description of what human life is ordinarily and what Savitri is, a plaything and a chattel of time slots.
Yes.
So we are nothing but, cattle. The gods feed us and milk us, but they keep us tied to their pen. And what are these pen? They are the temples and the mosques and the churches. They don't liberate us.
And this beautiful image of the chessboard.
Yes.
You can read that.
Pawn. Just after that it comes on
Yes.
page 18. Or one more pawn who comes destined to be pushed. One slow move forward on a measureless board in the chess play of the earth soul with doom. And doom seems to win. One person goes, one move, and then takes away.
Yes.
Such is the human figure drawn by time. But Savitri is different, and let's just turn the page and see what she brings.
Beautiful passage.
Yes, page 20. A heart stood in the way of the driving wheels. We just heard about this circling immobility of the wheel, which everything must follow a mechanical law. You may want to remain youthful, but the body will not allow. It's a rule, it's a law. So he says, a heart stood in the way of the driving wheels. Its giant workings paused in front of a mind. Its stark conventions met the flame of a soul. So not to give up. That's why the mother says, two things are required in this yoga: faith and endurance. Not to give up, not to give up, not to give up. Till the last breath, not to give up. And with full trust in the divine grace. This only the soul can have. And then what happens? Magic, leverage suddenly is caught that moves the veiled ineffables, timeless will, a prayer, a master act, a king idea, can link man's strength to a transcendent force. Then miracle is made the common rule. Right now it's an exception. Once in a while miracles take place. But divine interventions are not an everyday affair. Of course, here we find stories full of divine interventions. I think Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and as we grow in closeness to them, we see life becomes a perpetual miracle. But miracle in the truest sense. When Mother was asked, did Sri Aurobindo make use of the powers to perform miracles? Why didn't he use? In fact, the disciple asked, why didn't he use? So Mother says, of course he did, but he did many miracles in the mind, which people don't notice. You are agitated, troubled, besieged with difficulties, adverse circumstances. Go to the Lord and He fills your mind once again with peace and hope. That's a miracle. It's an inner change. It's not that the circumstances always change. They may not. But you are filled with that peace and joy, which is the most precious thing on earth. And moment's contact. It's not that after years of tapasya. So it's a miracle, a prayer, a master act, a king idea. Then miracle is made the common rule. One mighty deed can change the course of things. A lonely thought becomes omnipotent. Even if we can live with one idea that the divine is here, in all, in everything, there is nothing else but Him, I think it's a mighty idea, king idea. And if we can keep hammering this idea till it becomes the very stuff of our body and bones, all things can change. Lonely thought becomes omnipotent. Nobody else may believe in it. So it's a lonely thought. But if we can hold it, keep it, there are no limits.
In the synthesis, you'll know that wonderful passage. All that is He.
Yes.
And He is the more than all that is.
All that is.
And we, though we know it not, are being of His being, conscious with a consciousness Drawn from his.
cause. That's
Yes.
right. So I think we will close with
Yes.
these 4 lines.
Mm.
Why don't you read with your lovely magical voice?
Which lines?
A magic leverage.
A magic leverage suddenly is caught that moves the veiled ineffable's timeless will. A prayer, a master act, a king idea can link man's strength to a transcendent force. Then miracle is made the common rule. One mighty deed can change the course of things.